There's something about spring that invites us to begin again. After months of quiet interiors and muted light, the world outside starts to change, colors return, air softens, light stretches longer into the evening. And without us even realizing it, that same desire to breathe, to refresh, to reawaken begins to stir inside our homes. At Charette Theory, we see design as a dialogue between season and structure, feeling and form. And few design styles are better suited to this seasonal transition than mid-century modern. Known for its balance of simplicity and personality, of bold shapes and warm materials, mid-century design captures both the energy of innovation and the comfort of nostalgia. When paired with the freshness of spring, the result is a space that feels alive, grounded, and effortlessly stylish. But this isn't about a full renovation or an expensive overhaul. It's about intentional changes, small shifts that align your living space with the rhythm of the season. A change in color here. A rearranged chair there. A vase of fresh flowers. A new kind of light. Spring reminds us that transformation doesn't have to be loud. It can happen subtly, through texture, color, light, and flow. Through the quiet integration of natural elements and the careful placement of what we already have. In this guide, we'll walk you through a curated set of design tips to help your mid-century living room blossom with seasonal vitality. Whether you're adding pastel hues to your palette, swapping out heavy textiles for breathable ones, or introducing statement pieces with spring flair, each idea is crafted to bring clarity, warmth, and a sense of renewed joy into your space. This is not about decorating for the sake of decorating. This is about aligning your environment with how you want to feel: light, open, inspired. So whether you're making subtle shifts or seeking a full refresh, join us as we explore how to bring spring home, the mid-century way. Let's begin. Color is one of the most immediate ways we experience a space, not just visually, but emotionally. It shapes the tone of a room before we even register its furniture or layout. And in spring, the palette shifts, subtly at first, then all at once. We see it outside in budding leaves, early blossoms, and that unmistakable softness of morning light. Inside, the same shift can happen, with intention. In a mid-century living room, color is not used haphazardly. It's considered, balanced. It supports the architecture, complements the wood tones, and enhances the room's sense of flow. The goal in spring isn't to drown the space in brightness, it's to introduce lightness, freshness, and a sense of visual relief. Start with inspiration from nature. Pastel greens, reminiscent of new growth. Warm, golden yellows, like sunlight through a curtain. Blush pinks drawn from spring petals. Sky blues that mimic clear afternoons. These hues don't shout. They whisper, softly guiding the room toward something lighter, clearer. These colors pair beautifully with the rich tones found in mid-century materials: walnut, teak, rosewood. Think of them not as opposites, but as complements. The warmth of the wood grounds the space, while seasonal colors bring it to life. One simple approach is to choose 2 to 3 spring-inspired tones and repeat them throughout the room in small, intentional moments. A cushion here. A piece of pottery there. A book spine, a textile, a print. This kind of repetition creates harmony, an invisible thread that ties the space together without overwhelming it. If you're ready for a bigger change, consider painting an accent wall. A muted sage, a dusty peach, even a pale ochre can redefine the room's atmosphere while still feeling timeless. In a mid-century home, walls are often backdrops, not centerpieces, so keep the finish matte and the color earthy. For more subtle changes, accessories are your palette. Try ceramic vases in pastel glazes or abstract art prints that pull in the season's tones. A hand-woven rug in blush and cream. A set of linen pillow covers with soft geometric lines. Each piece becomes a brushstroke in your room's spring composition. Don't forget the power of floral arrangements. A vase of fresh tulips in coral or white can bring a moment of quiet color to a coffee table or console. Even a single stem in a bud vase, placed with care, can shift the emotional temperature of the room. As you introduce these elements, keep stepping back. Observe. Ask yourself, is this color enhancing the room's energy? Or is it competing with it? The goal is always balance. Lightness without chaos. Color without clutter. Let the natural materials of mid-century design, wood grain, leather, linen, stone, do some of the talking. They offer a rich, neutral foundation that spring tones can gently layer onto. Together, they create a room that feels seasonal but grounded, vibrant but calm. And remember, you don't need to change everything to feel the shift. Sometimes just a handful of intentional color choices can open up the space, make it feel like it's taken a deep breath. That's the magic of spring. That's the power of design that listens to the season. Let the colors you choose reflect not only what's outside your window, but what's changing inside of you. In spring, the air itself feels different, gentler, more fluid, laced with movement. It drifts through open windows, glides over newly budded leaves, and carries with it the promise of change. Inside the home, textiles are how we respond to that air. They are the layers between us and the architecture, the soft edges of a room's structure. And in a mid-century living room, those layers matter deeply. Spring invites us to rethink texture. To replace what was heavy and insulating with what is light, breathable, and full of flow. This isn't just about switching out fabrics. It's about shifting how your space feels against the skin, how it holds light, and how it interacts with movement. Begin by letting go of winter's materials: velvet, wool, flannel. These belong to colder months, when the world outside calls for nesting. In spring, we reach for linen, cotton, slub weaves, and airy blends. These fabrics carry light through them. They lift. They breathe. Curtains are one of the most powerful places to start. Replace thick or dark drapery with sheer or semi-sheer panels. A gauzy linen in soft ivory, a lightweight cotton with a bare leather weave. These allow light to pour in, filtering it just enough to create glow without glare. The effect? Instant spaciousness. A room that feels illuminated from within. Move next to your throw pillows and blankets. This is where color and texture can play quietly together. Choose subtle geometric prints, mid-century inspired line work, or pastel solids that reflect the season's palette. Blush, sage, pale ochre, muted coral. Think of each pillow as a small story, offering color, softness, and form without demanding attention. When it comes to blankets, opt for light cotton throws, linen blends, or knit layers with loose weaves. Drape them casually over the arm of a sofa or fold them neatly in a woven basket. These details don't just add comfort, they communicate ease. They tell your guests, and yourself, that this space is meant to be lived in lightly. Don't shy away from layering, even with spring's minimalism. What changes is how you layer. Instead of depth through weight, you create depth through contrast in texture. A tufted cotton pillow beside a smooth linen one. A crinkled muslin throw resting on a structured upholstered chair. These moments of tactile interplay make the room visually rich while remaining seasonally appropriate. And consider the color of your textiles in relation to your mid-century materials. Wood tones like walnut and teak pair beautifully with soft neutrals and warm pastels. Let the textiles bring lightness, while the furniture grounds the scene. Together, they achieve the balance that defines mid-century spring interiors: warm but airy, minimal but comforting. Even small details, like a new fabric lampshade, a woven poof, or a simple cotton floor cushion, can shift the emotional tone of a space. They remind us that softness isn't just about physical comfort. It's about visual and emotional spaciousness. Ultimately, textiles in spring are less about decoration and more about response, to light, to warmth, to the gentle unfurling of the season itself. They ask, what feels good now? What invites breath? In that question lies your answer. In that softness, your space begins to feel like spring. Spring has a way of softening the boundary between indoors and out. As nature awakens, the desire to mirror that growth within our homes becomes instinctive. And in mid-century design, this isn't just an aesthetic choice, it's foundational. The style itself was born from a reverence for the natural world. Open-plan layouts. Expansive windows. Organic forms. Earth-toned materials. Mid-century spaces were designed to live with nature, not apart from it. So when spring arrives, the best thing you can do is invite it in. Start with the most elemental gesture, plants. Not as decoration, but as presence. Living, breathing companions that bring texture, color, and rhythm to your space. You don't need a jungle. Just a few well-chosen pieces. A snake plant in a corner. A fiddle leaf fig by the window. A trailing pothose on a shelf. Their forms add movement. Their greens soften the room's geometry. And their stillness carries calm. Mid-century planters. Raised wood stands, matte ceramic pots, sleek metal legs, are perfect frames for greenery. They elevate the plant without distracting from it. Choose vessels in earthy tones, terracotta, ivory, charcoal, or go subtle with brushed brass or walnut finishes that echo your furniture. If you're short on floor space, go vertical. A small wall-mounted planter, or even a simple vase with clippings on a floating shelf, can speak volumes. What matters is intention, choosing what belongs, and placing it where it can breathe. Then there are fresh flowers, seasonal, fleeting, and full of grace. Spring is their moment. Tulips, daffodils, hyacinths, ranunculus. Their silhouettes are delicate but striking, and their color whispers of what's blooming just outside your door. Don't overstyle them. A single bloom in a vintage glass vessel. A small bunch in a mid-century ceramic jug. These arrangements are not centerpieces, they're punctuation. Moments of pause. Gentle reminders of change. Beyond plants and flowers, look to natural textures to bring the outdoors in. A woven rattan basket, a wooden tray, a stone bowl. These materials connect us to the earth in tactile ways. They carry the memory of being shaped by hand, not machine. Use them sparingly, but meaningfully. Artwork can extend this theme. A framed botanical print. A minimalist drawing of a leaf. Abstract pieces inspired by organic forms. Consider vintage nature studies or modern line work that nods to flora without overwhelming the wall. Use thin wood or brass frames to keep the look light and consistent with mid-century detailing. Don't forget the emotional role of natural light. Keep windows unobstructed. Let morning and evening light move through the room. Observe how it interacts with your natural elements, how it bounces off a leaf, glows behind a petal, spills across a woven texture. These shifting shadows and highlights are part of the design. Together, these elements create a quiet conversation between your interior and the world beyond the window. They remind you, even on a still afternoon indoors, that something is growing, changing, renewing. This is the soul of spring, alive, understated, intentional. Let your home become a space where the natural world is not imitated, but welcomed. Where every plant, every texture, every shaft of light has a place. And in that gentle integration, your living room becomes more than styled. It becomes rooted. Spring isn't just a season, it's a rhythm. A gentle uncoiling. A slow unfolding. And often, when the air outside changes, we feel it inside too, not just in mood or energy, but in our relationship to the spaces we inhabit. What once felt cozy now feels crowded. What once felt grounded may now feel heavy. That's why sometimes, the most profound seasonal refresh doesn't come from what you buy, but from how you move what you already have. Mid-century interiors were designed with this fluidity in mind. Open floor plans. Low, leggy furniture. An emphasis on negative space. The language of the era encourages mobility, lightness, and a respect for architectural breathing room. So spring becomes the perfect opportunity to embrace that ethos. To step back and ask, how does this room move? How do I move within it? Start with sunlight. Observe how it enters and travels through your living room during the day. Are key pieces catching the light, or blocking it? Is your favorite chair tucked into a shadow? Could your sofa be rotated to face the window, welcoming warmth and clarity? Rearranging furniture in response to light isn't just visual, it's emotional. Light guides our circadian rhythms, uplifts mood, and brings softness into our routines. Once you've observed the light, assess the flow of movement. Can you move through the space without interruption? Are there visual bottlenecks, narrow walkways, oversized pieces, or furniture that no longer fits the function of the room? This is where the brilliance of mid-century furniture comes in. With its slim profiles, clean lines, and elevated bases, it naturally promotes openness. Try pulling key pieces slightly away from the wall. It might feel counterintuitive at first, but even a few inches can create a sense of architectural breathing room, making the room feel more spacious and intentional. Next, consider reorienting your seating. Rather than aligning everything toward a screen or fireplace, explore creating conversation zones. Angle 2 chairs toward each other with a table in between. Shift a daybed to frame a view of the garden or city skyline. These simple moves can turn your living room into a space that invites interaction, stillness, or reflection, depending on the moment. If you find yourself trying to make something work, ask yourself whether it truly belongs in the spring arrangement. Sometimes the boldest, most liberating change is removing a piece. That extra ottoman. A too bulky armchair. A side table that never quite found its place. Letting go can be just as powerful as bringing in. And remember, not every corner needs to be filled. In spring, space is luxury. Empty floor areas become negative space, places for light to land, air to circulate, eyes to rest. Mid-century design embraces this kind of restraint, allowing each piece to stand with clarity and purpose. As you finalize your layout, think about sightlines. What do you see when you enter the room? When you sit down? When you glance up from your book or your morning coffee? Let these moments feel curated, not crowded. Allow light and space to take their rightful place in the design. This isn't about creating a showroom. It's about creating a room that feels like it's in season, alive, light, and attuned to your present way of living. So as the world outside begins to stretch and open, let your furniture do the same. Let your space respond. Let it breathe. And in doing so, let it quietly remind you that sometimes, a shift in perspective is all it takes to feel brand new. In any well-designed room, there's always that one element that draws the eye. Not because it's loud, but because it's confident. It doesn't compete, it anchors. It doesn't shout, it speaks. These are your statement pieces, and in a mid-century spring living room, they play a crucial role in giving the season its voice. Spring, after all, is not just a quiet return to softness, it also holds moments of boldness. The first crocus breaking through the frost. The sudden flash of forsythia. A bird song slicing through a still morning. These moments remind us that elegance and energy can, and should, coexist. Mid-century design is known for this balance: bold shapes, sculptural forms, pops of color that feel both expressive and refined. This season, your goal is to choose a few key pieces that reflect that dynamic, while still feeling light and intentional. Start with one focal point. It could be a sunburst mirror, a classic mid-century icon that also mimics the radiance of spring. Hung above a console or fireplace, it creates an instant sense of brightness and vitality. Or perhaps it's a vintage ceramic vase, glazed in robin's egg blue or pale saffron, placed on a coffee table or open shelf. These sculptural accents capture both the handcrafted soul of mid-century artistry and the subtle color language of spring. If your space allows, consider a retro clock, a textural sculpture, or a patterned art glass bowl. These pieces often feature organic geometry, curves, spheres, lines that echo natural growth patterns, and they add just enough visual interest without disrupting the flow of the room. But here's the key: restraint. 1 or 2 statement pieces per zone is enough. Let them breathe. Give them space. A mid-century room doesn't require layers of complexity, it thrives on clarity. Your boldest pieces should feel like intentional punctuation, not like exclamation marks scattered at random. To tie everything together, choose finishes and materials that harmonize with the broader design: brass, walnut, matte ceramic, colored glass. These elements feel elevated without overpowering the room's serenity. A bold piece isn't about size or flash, it's about presence. And the more space you give it, the more quietly powerful it becomes. Even colorful spring accessories, a mosaic tray, a bowl of citrus, a textile wall hanging, can become seasonal statements when chosen with care. Look for tones that echo your spring palette. A soft coral. A deep olive. A pale teal. These notes, used sparingly, add life without clutter. And don't overlook the emotional role these pieces play. They're not just decor, they're moments of expression. They reflect something about you. Your humor, your history, your sense of joy. In a room rooted in order and minimalism, a bold object can be a beautiful act of playfulness. So let spring be your permission slip to explore. To introduce an object that makes you smile. That catches the afternoon light just so. That becomes a conversation starter, or simply something you return to again and again in quiet admiration. In a space defined by calm and clarity, one bold choice can become a beacon, gently reminding you that even the most refined rooms deserve a moment of delight. The walls of your living room are more than just boundaries. They are canvases, surfaces that hold the emotional tone of a space, even in their stillness. What you place on them shapes not only what is seen, but what is felt. And as spring unfolds, it offers a new palette, a new rhythm, and a new invitation to curate that feeling intentionally. In mid-century interiors, wall art is never random. It is selected with care. It balances the room's geometry. It adds mood and depth without noise. And above all, it speaks the visual language of the era: form, structure, simplicity, paired with your personal story. Spring gives us the chance to shift that language, just slightly. Not to erase what came before, but to update the tone. To say, the season has changed, and so has the way this room feels. Begin by removing visual weight. If your walls feature dark, heavy, or somber pieces from winter, consider swapping them for works that feel lighter in color, in theme, and in intention. Pieces that evoke softness, openness, Movement. Look for artwork that draws from spring's essence. Floral line drawings, soft abstract landscapes, birds in flight, or organic shapes in gentle tones. These visuals don't have to be literal, they can be subtle, even minimalist, but they should evoke the feeling of growth, of lightness, of fresh perspective. Mid-century homes often favor geometric compositions, bold color blocking, or sculptural silhouettes. You can blend these forms with seasonal hues, introducing a blushstone triangle, a pale green wave, a sky blue dot. The result is a room that feels seasonally updated without losing its mid-century identity. Frames matter, too. Choose slim profiles in natural wood, brushed brass, or matte black. These finishes complement the furniture and keep the overall aesthetic grounded. Avoid ornate detailing, let the art speak simply and clearly. If you have a gallery wall, this is the perfect time to refresh a few select pieces. Keep your layout, but replace 2 or 3 prints with spring-inspired works. It's a small gesture that can transform the wall's emotional temperature. You can also bring in dimensional pieces, a woven wall hanging in natural fibers, a ceramic tile mosaic, or even a floating shelf with sculptural decor. These textures add tactile warmth while reinforcing the organic side of mid-century design. For those on a budget or just craving something more personal, consider DIY art or printable downloads. A hand-painted color study. A pressed botanical in a floating frame. Even a child's drawing, curated in the right context, can feel intentional and poetic. And remember, white space is part of the design. Don't feel the need to fill every inch. A single large-scale piece can make a stronger statement than 6 smaller ones. Let the negative space breathe. Let the room have quiet moments. As you stand in your living room and look around, ask yourself, what stories do these walls tell now? What mood are they holding? Because when curated with thought and care, wall decor becomes more than visual interest. It becomes an emotional backdrop for the season. A whisper of warmth. A frame for light. A reminder that even stillness can evolve. Let your art shift with the seasons, not to chase trends, but to stay in rhythm with the world outside. Let it hold beauty, but also breath. And most importantly, let it reflect you, as you are, in this moment of spring. Light is one of the most powerful, yet least visible, elements of a room. It's not something you see directly, it's what reveals everything else. And in spring, light begins to shift. It enters earlier. It lingers longer. It dances across surfaces that, just a few weeks ago, sat in shadow. To embrace spring in a mid-century living room is to honor this returning light, to invite it in, to shape it, and to soften it when needed. Mid-century design was built with light in mind. Floor-to-ceiling windows, open plans, and clean lines were all created to let light move freely. But even with architecture on your side, there's something deeply human and deeply transformative about curating the glow inside your space. Begin with natural light. Clear your windows of heavy curtains or obstructive furniture. Swap out dark, dense fabrics for linen sheers or cotton blends that allow sunlight to filter through, diffusing softly across the room. This alone can shift the entire energy of your living space, no switch is needed. But as evening approaches and daylight fades, artificial light takes center stage. And here, the tone matters. Choose warm white bulbs, ideally around 2700 to 3000 K, to mimic the golden softness of late afternoon sun. Harsh cool lighting may feel efficient, but it breaks the spell of spring. What you want is glow, not glare. Look to mid-century lighting forms, sculptural table lamps, slender arc floor lamps, iconic pendant fixtures. Materials like brass, wood, frosted glass, and woven shades not only reflect the era, but also soften the way light is cast. This is the season to explore layered lighting. Think in 3 dimensions. Ambient light fills the space, ceiling pendants or overhead flush mounts. Task lighting focuses attention, desk lamps, reading lights, kitchen spotlights. Accent lighting brings warmth and character, small sconces, picture lights, candles. Together, these layers allow you to sculpt the mood of your room throughout the day. Bright and energizing in the morning, warm and serene at dusk. If you don't already have them, dimmers are a simple yet transformative upgrade. They allow you to fine-tune the mood with precision. Spring is a season of fluctuation, sunny one moment, overcast the next. Let your lighting adapt with you. You can also introduce decorative light sources that function as design statements. A vintage globe lamp in muted mint. A tripod floor lamp with a linen drum shade. A small glowing orb tucked into a corner shelf. These pieces add shape, warmth, and intimacy. And then there are candlelights. Though often associated with winter, in spring they take on a new role, less about heat, more about ambience. Choose clear glass holders, ceramic bowls, or mid-century candlesticks in brass or matte black. Opt for fresh seasonal scents like citrus blossom, green tea, lilac, or neroli. Let the light flicker gently, reflecting spring's quiet simplicity. As always with mid-century spaces, restraint is part of the beauty. You don't need a light in every corner. You need the right light in the right moment. A considered glow. A thoughtful beam. A shadow that falls just so. Because lighting isn't just about visibility, it's about mood, memory, and rhythm. It's what makes a room feel alive. So this spring, don't just style your space. Illuminate it. Let it glow with intention. Let it echo the light outside while holding warmth within. Because when lighting is done right, it disappears, and what you're left with is a room that feels like a sunrise, long after the sun has gone down. There's a certain kind of beauty that reveals itself not through extravagance, but through utility. The kind that doesn't ask to be noticed, but quietly earns your admiration over time. In a mid-century spring living room, these are your functional accessories, the unsung heroes of daily life that also serve as points of subtle design. Spring is a season that simplifies. It invites you to pare down, to remove what's no longer needed, and to celebrate only what serves you, both practically and aesthetically. So as you select accessories, think less about filling space and more about elevating experience. Start with storage. In a season of openness and renewal, clutter can feel especially intrusive. Woven baskets, wooden boxes, or mid-century modern credenzas offer storage solutions that blend seamlessly with your aesthetic. A natural fiber basket beside the sofa can hold a lightweight throw. A low-profile tray on the coffee table can gather remotes, coasters, or a book without feeling messy. These pieces serve not just to contain, but to compose. They create intentional groupings. They turn everyday objects into curated moments. Next, consider books. Not as filler, but as artifacts. Choose titles that speak to spring, gardening, architecture, poetry, color theory. Stack one or two on a coffee table or console, letting their covers add a subtle layer of texture and tone. A pale green linen binding. A pastel tone dust jacket. Even in stillness, they add meaning. Coasters, trays, and bowls are small but powerful accessories. Opt for materials that feel organic and tactile: cork, travertine, unfinished wood, glazed ceramic. These textures bring the outside in and remind you, with every use, that form and function can be one and the same. Now introduce a scented element, something ephemeral but emotionally resonant. Candles or oil diffusers in spring-inspired scents. Citrus blossom, mint, lavender, neroli, green tea can shift the atmosphere of a room without changing a single visual element. Place them where they become part of a vignette, next to a bud vase, beside a small stack of books, or nestled into a shelf. Even something as utilitarian as a remote control holder, a key tray, or a planter stand becomes part of your design language when chosen with care. Seek out pieces in natural finishes, muted tones, or simple geometries. Let them blend in, or let them punctuate. Either way, let them feel intentional. And always remember, accessories don't have to fill every surface. In mid-century design, the absence of clutter is a design decision. So choose fewer things, but better things. Things that last. Things that say something, even if quietly. Spring is not about overstyling. It's about clarifying. About refining your space until everything left has meaning. So every time your hand reaches for a coaster, a book, a throw, what you're touching is not just a thing. It's a choice. A choice for beauty. A choice for simplicity. A choice for a space that feels lived in, but not overwhelmed. Functional, but soulful. So as you place each object, ask yourself, not only does this look right, but also, does this feel right for the season I'm in? Because a well-accessorized room isn't full, it's fulfilled. Spring is not about grand gestures. It doesn't arrive all at once, it emerges. A soft wind. A shift in light. A subtle scent in the air. And just like that, the world begins again. Your living room, too, can reflect this slow and gentle transformation. With every thoughtful choice, every rearranged chair, every pale bloom in a vase, every object cleared from a cluttered shelf, you invite more than freshness into your space. You invite clarity, calm, possibility. Mid-century design has always honored this balance. It gives shape to openness. It celebrates function as beauty. And in spring, it becomes something even more profound, a canvas for renewal. Not only of things, but of the way we feel inside the spaces we call home. This isn't about chasing trends or staging perfection. It's about creating alignment between your home and the season, your interior and your energy, your space and your story. So whether you introduced a single houseplant, updated your art wall, or simply let the morning light fall differently across your sofa, know that even the smallest shift is an act of intention. Because the true beauty of spring is not how it looks, but how it makes us feel. Thank you for joining us on this journey. We hope you found inspiration in the quiet details, the subtle layers, and the thoughtful rhythms that define both mid-century design and the spirit of the season. If this video resonated with you, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share it with others who believe in the power of space to reflect life. And we'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and let us know, what's one small change you're making this spring? Until next time, stay inspired, stay curious, and continue creating spaces that support who you are, season by season, moment by moment. You've been watching Charette Theory.